You just end up drowning, you made it up out of the flood. You counted your blessings and saw your losses as lessons, you knew what it was. I know sometimes it feels like it don't matter, but I'm here to tell you it does. I want you to know that it ain't nothing small to flourish through all of your flaws. I know that daily you be overcoming and don't get a round of applause. Lord was mornings you ain't want to get up and you had to silence alarms. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know it, yeah. Trust me, I know it ain't easy. Running your race like a relay. Just trying to find how far you really can go. Putting in work like a briefcase. Every week and every weekday. See you, my dog, I'm proud. I want you to know. I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I'm proud. I know you too humble to flex. I want you to know you allowed. Yeah. I ain't being quiet about it. I want you to know it out loud. Yeah. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know that I know it was many nights that you cried. Yeah. Just want you to know you a dog for coming out the other side. Yeah. I want you to know it in public. I'm with you. I'm not gonna hide. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know it, folks. Want you to know that I beat everything you've been doing.
Live will officially get started in 9 minutes.
You ain't laying in the ruins, staying 10 toes down, fighting for a better life. Shooting things never cracks, praying on it every night, staying out of all the hype.
How everyone's feeling and doing tonight this evening?
Until you win every day in the end is fire. I just wanna say, gotta praise you for leveling up. Crushing is tough, here to celebrate you. We the same one's favorite ain't never been us. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know it ain't
Y'all ready to get this started in a couple of minutes?
just trying to find out how far you really can go. Putting in work like a briefcase. Every week and every weekday. See you, my dog, I'm proud. I want you to know. I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I'm proud. I know you too humble to flex. I want you to know you allowed. I ain't being quiet about it. I want you to know it out loud. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know that it was many nights that you cried. Just want you to know you a dog for coming out the other side. I want you to know it in public. I'm with you. I'm not gonna hide. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know it.
Got 2 people in here so far. A couple more folks should be joining. You know the time zones. Some people probably coming late. But make sure I save this and keep it up in the loop when we get it.
Broadcast your failures.
Hope y'all ready to learn something.
Sing your praises. You know? I want you to know that I see you. I want you to
Have some basic knowledge as to how we can operate and function to get things done the correct lawful way.
Just want you to know it. I know when you started your road was the hardest. You got it up out of the mud. Some people get down and they just end up drowning. You made it up out of the flood. You counted your blessings and saw your losses as lessons. You knew what it was. I know sometimes it feels like it don't matter, but I'm here to tell you it does. Want you to know that it ain't nothing small to flourish through all your flaws. I know that
Sound good.
coming and don't get a round of applause. Lord was mornings you ain't want to get up and you had to silence the
I
alarms.
got on here early. Make sure everything's working correctly.
Trust me, I know it ain't easy. Running your race like a relay. Just trying to find how far you really can go. Putting in work like a briefcase. Every week and every weekday. See you, my dog, I'm proud. I want you to know. I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I'm proud. I know you too humble to
Right back.
I want you to know
Like
you
what things cover.
I ain't being mad about it. I want you to know it out loud. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know that I know it was many nights that you cried. Just want you to know you a dog for coming out the other side. I want you to know it in public. I'm with you. I'm not gonna hide. Just want you to know it. Just want you to know it. Want you to know that I beat everything you've been doing. Yeah, you came from the dirt. Generations being cursed, but you ain't laying in the ruins. Staying 10 toes down, fighting for a better life. Showing things never cracks, praying on it every night. Staying out of all the hype. You kept it pure through everything you endured. You focused on making a way. Watching you win through everything. In the end, it's fire. I just wanna say, gotta praise you for leveling up. Rep it all, cause progression is tough. Here to celebrate you, we the same. One's favorite ain't never been us. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know it ain't easy. Running your race like a relay. Just trying to find out how far you really can go. Putting in work like a briefcase. every weekend, every weekday. See you, my dog, I'm proud. I want you to know. I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I'm proud. I know you too humble to flex. I want you to know you alive.
5 minute countdown. Miss Trinisa, I see you up in here. You ready to go? Appreciate the support. I be seeing you liking and commenting on the post in the group. Three-minute countdown. Send out some invites. Two-minute countdown. One-minute countdown. Now start the class. p.m. Let me get started. So today, or tonight, this evening, we want to be reviewing why most people lose in court. You can't simply just know the law. You must know the procedure. So procedure then law. It's like the master lock and key. I like to welcome everyone in that's in here right now. So tonight I want to deal with something that changes everything when it comes to handling your affairs. And that's going to be about procedure and law. A lot of people think that just because they know a statute, they can quote a case, some case law, or use certain right terms, the correct lingo, or have the correct paperwork, that alone is enough. It's never just enough just to quote anything or just think it's one step to getting a remedy in court. It doesn't work that way. That's not how the system is built. So most people are not losing because they have no rights, or as they like to say, railroaded in court. They losing because they do not know the procedure to improperly enforce their rights. Let me say that again. Most people are not losing because they have no rights. They are losing because they do not know the procedure to properly enforce those rights. And that is why tonight's topic matters, because we need to know how to properly enforce our rights that we know we have. So law without procedure is just a bunch of theory. Procedure is what makes law move, or makes law actually come into play and be effective. So tonight, I'm going to break this down in simple ways so you can really understand why people fail even when they think or know they are right. Why documents didn't get you nowhere, and why execution matters more than just stating the statute, case law, or saying the right terms, or having one document. So let me ask, how many have y'all seen people quote a law, use good, strong language, file paperwork, and still get nowhere? If you've seen it, you can put a 1 in the chat. Maybe it was you. Maybe you quoted some law, used strong language, filed some paperwork, and it didn't get you anywhere. But that right there is the actual problem. Paperwork without process is just you decorating the record for your case. So tonight, I'm going to make it simple. I'm going to break this down into 5 parts. First is being law, procedure, evidence, building a record, and then executing. If you understand those 5 steps, you will understand why people win, why people lose, and why many documents fail before they produce a result for you. So the first part, as I mentioned, is law. Well, what is law? Law defines your rights, duties, obligations, and remedies. It tells you what should happen, what may be violated, what authority may support your position or your claim, and what relief may be available for your particular situation. So yes, law matters. It absolutely matters. But here is where many people stop too early or just simply rely on the law. They find a statute, or they find a code, one of the sections in the codes, or they just think they can just use one case law, or they learn certain terminology and they think they won. A lot of people do that. But that's not the answer. That's not the correct way to get any results. That means you may have identified your authority, but that's just the first step. That isn't the finish line. Knowing law is step one. It won't get you past the finish line. So knowing law is step one, but it doesn't get you across the finish line. Law tells you what may support your position or your claim, but law does not magically enforce itself just because you found the law. And that is where procedure comes in. Law tells you what may be true. Procedure determines whether you can properly bring it to the courts when you make your claim. A lot of people know how to say what is wrong, which is it's inherited. That's not right. That's not right. Or they did me wrong. But far fewer know how to present it correctly. That's where procedure comes into play. So let me ask you all, does that make any sense to you all so far? Feel free to comment anything. I hope it's making sense to you. The reason why is because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. They confuse knowing the law with enforcement. And those two are not the same things. Knowing law and enforcing the law are two separate actions. Procedure is what you use to enforce the law. So let's go to part 2 of step 2, procedure. Procedure is a mechanism. Procedure controls everything. It controls the timing. It controls the form. It controls the sequence. It controls notice, service, filing, deadlines, what method you're using, and when an issue must be raised, and how the court or decision maker, the judge, is allowed to consider it. Hope you follow along. That is why people can have a real issue and still fail in court. Not because the issue was imaginary or made up. Not because the concern was fake or just came out of thin air. It's because it was brought the wrong way to the courts, at the wrong time, in the wrong form, or without preserving the matter correctly. That is the part people do not want to hear, but it is the truth. You can't handle court like you at home handling an issue with one of your siblings and you got mom and dad around. It doesn't work that way. The court does not reward your passion or treat you like your mom and dad would handling with your having an issue with your siblings. It rewards procedure. So it's just like when you say, hey, it was 2 cookies and they're trying to get both of them. That's how you bring it to your mommy and your daddy. In court, you got to do it a certain way, and then it's procedure you follow. So it's a certain process you go through. So once again, the court doesn't reward your passion. It rewards how you follow procedure. You can be passionate in the courtroom and you still will lose. You can be right in a courtroom and still lose. You can be morally convinced and still lose. You can be, like I said, factually right and still lose your case. Sounds kind of odd, but that's how it works. You can be correct in everything you're saying, but it does not mean you will win if you do not use or follow procedure. Why? Because using the wrong method or doing something at the wrong timing, using the wrong vehicle, you get the wrong result.
Without procedure, you cannot accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. You cannot get the remedy you're seeking. Understood? That is why I said earlier that you cannot properly apply law without knowing procedure. Inherently, we know law, but inherently, we do not know procedure on how to enforce the law. Procedure is what tells you when you need to object, when you need to make an answer, when you need to move or move the court. Procedure determines what you need to file and what standard applies for where you at in your case. And procedure also tells you what must be preserved. You have to preserve your rights when you're in controversy. Procedure also shows you how the issue gets before the court properly. So when you bring a claim to the court, you have to do it procedurally, the correct way, so it can be heard. Without that, people are swinging hard with no grip on the bat. Like you go hit that baseball and the bat slip out your hand. That's what happens when you don't follow procedure. A lot of people have much enthusiasm, emotion, and morality behind what they saying when they swinging that bat. But, you know, they strike out. The ball still go in the glove, you swing and you miss. Procedure is everything. For example, someone can say, my rights were violated. And a lot of times it's true. But did you raise the issue in the correct form? That's procedure. Was it filed in the proper place? Was it raised at the proper stage? Was the other side properly noticed? Was it preserved in the record? Was there support behind it? If the answer is no, then even a valid issue can get ignored, it can be delayed, it will be denied, waived, or buried in the paperwork. That is why procedure matters. So, how many of you have ever known something was wrong, but you did not know the exact process to bring it to the court or raise your claim correctly? I have. I've been there. But that is the gap. Knowing law and knowing how to apply law procedurally. A lot of us know this inherently, but then it's a huge gap. We don't know what to do with that. And following procedure. And it's not a lack of truth. It's just a lack of process. That's why a lot of people don't get results. You can speak the truth and be right, but without process, it doesn't mean anything. So let's move to point 3. We're going to speak about evidence. There's a whole lot of ways that people get exposed when it comes to the evidence stage. Without evidence, you can't solidify or support your claim. A lot of people have arguments. A lot of people have certain beliefs about the situation. And then they formulate conclusions. A lot of times the conclusions is correct. A lot of people have suspicions, but very few have organized proof. Meaning you can't go into court with just what you remember, what you recall. Do you have it written down? Do you have a proper record to show what happened, how it happened, when it happened? And the interactions between that event. Is it recorded? That's your evidence. In legal matters, proof matters. That is your evidence. You do not win because something sounds right. You win because it is properly supported. You do not win because something sounds right. You win because it is properly supported. Use your evidence. That is a major difference. You may know something happened. You may believe something is obvious. You may feel something is unjust. Most times we're right. But if your claim is unsupported, unclear, irrelevant, or improperly presented, it loses weight. That is why evidence is so important. Evidence gives the claim weight. Evidence gives your argument support. Evidence helps move a position from asserting to something that can actually be considered. And let me say this plainly. A claim without support is just a dressed up opinion. It's just a feeling. And the courts will not give that consideration at all. A claim without support is just a dressed up opinion or your feelings, and feelings do not move the court. People sometimes fall in love with the language and forget about having that support or having evidence to support what they're saying. They say strong things, they make strong accusations, but don't back it up with evidence. They use powerful phrases, but where's the proof? Where's the exhibit? That's what the court's going to ask you. Where is the support to validate your claim? Where's your organized paper trail? Because arguments talk, but evidence weighs. You can talk all day, but if you don't have the evidence to prove it, that's what it is. It's just talk. You're just running your mouth. So have y'all noticed that a lot of people can sound powerful, but when you really look at what they have, it's just conclusions with no proof? No, people lie. So that's how the court view it. You making these claims, but you don't have no evidence to support it. You don't have no proof. And that is one of the fastest ways that things will fall apart in court. So let's go to part 4, which is how do you actually build a record? How do you actually build up your evidence? The record is your legal memory. Not memory here, but your legal memory, which is written down. The record is the preserved trail that you need to present to the courts. This matter came from this event, point A. They responded with point B. This is my response, point C. Then you go D through Z. That's how you need to present it on paper. That includes things like your pleadings, what you file, your exhibits, your affidavits, your motions, what you object to, certain orders, transcripts, and rulings. That's like your case law we talked about earlier. And things properly enter into the court record and your rights being preserved. Hope you caught that. This is critical because people often talk about what they know and what happened, what they meant, what was said, what was done, and what should matter. But what's the reality behind it? If it is not in the record, it may as well be like vapor or fog, evaporating water. It's just smoke. If it's not in the record, it holds no weight. If you haven't been keeping record, it holds no weight. You just can't go on court and say this what happened, this what occurred, and you don't have no proof. That is why record building matters. You must build your record. Keep account. You are not just trying to say something strong. You are building a trail of evidence. A trail that shows what was raised, when it was raised, how it was raised, what support was provided, giving you authority, what was objected to, what was preserved, meaning your rights, and what was ruled on. That matters for the present stage, and it matters even more later. So if I were to violate you or do something wrong, what you need to do? Write it down, put it in your phone, iPhone notes, keep a record of it, so that when you go to court, you can explain and show on paper everything that occurred from point A to point Z. A lot of strong issues died because the record was weak or you do not have that supporting evidence, which is the record, to validate the claim you're making. Let that sink in. It's like, people got cameras at their homes. Let's say you call the police and be like, somebody broke in my car and took my money out. They like, well, where's your proof? Ain't no broken glass. They don't find no fingerprints on the car. And let's say you got your camera recorded, but then you don't think to say, hey, here go a recording of them doing it. You got to have your evidence. You got to have the record. You just can't make a claim without the proof. So a lot of strong issues can die. Your claims can be ignored and thrown out because the record was weak, or you did not create a record or use your record. A weak record can bury a strong issue or rightful claim. Without the proof, it's nothing. It's like smoke and mirrors. So can you see why this is bigger than just having a document or knowing a phrase? It's a procedure that you have to go through. So now we're going to be dealing with structure, not just slogans or phrases. Part 5 is the execution. So let's talk about the part that ties all of this together. Execution. Execution is where information becomes results. This is where many people fail. They may have bits and pieces of knowledge. They may have heard certain terms. They may have documents saved. They may have examples. They may even have some decent information, but they do not know the right sequence, the right structure, the right timing, the right purpose, the right follow-through, and the right way to connect one step to the next. That is why execution matters so much. Documents are tools. It's not magic. Documenting are tools, but it don't bring any magic about. A document is not powerful just because it sounds serious. A document is not powerful just because it uses strong language. A document is not powerful just because somebody online said it was. A document is only as powerful as the procedure behind it. That is the truth. Execution means understanding the objective, using the correct tools, using it at the correct stage, supporting it properly, serving it properly, following through, preserving the trail, your evidence, and understanding what comes next procedurally. That is why so many people stay stuck and can't get results. They have information but have no sequence. They have language but not any leverage. They have paperwork but not process. And that right there is the gap between noise and getting results. Information without execution is just entertainment. That one hurts a little, but it is real. Because people can listen, they can watch, they can save things, they can screenshot, they can collect, they can repost and still not know how to apply any of it properly. Execution is the discipline side. Execution is the strategy side. Execution is the grown-up table, not the kiddie pool. So are you saying now why being right just isn't enough by itself? You can be right and still lose? Being right does matter, but it is not enough by itself. Not when you're practicing law to get remedy. Gotta know procedure. So let's recap all this. With the main summary section. That's where we about to go. This is like the main summary section. Law gives you the right. Procedure is what you use to get remedy. Evidence gives your claim or your defense the weight that it needs. The record gives the case or the situation memory to go off of. And execution what gives you the result. So law gives you the right, procedure gives you the remedy, evidence holds weight, the record is what gives you memory to work off of and make a judgment or ruling on. And executing it the right way is what gives you the results. It's a 5-step process. That's why you must know the procedure, your local rules, your state rules, and federal rules. That is the framework you, I, and everyone else must abide by. Once you understand that, you stop chasing random language and start building up real strategy to use. Once you understand that, you stop thinking one document alone is the answer. A lot of people do motions, but guess what? They do motions at the wrong time of the case. Once you understand that, you begin to see why people can know a lot and still not get any results. They don't get anywhere in court. Because knowledge that is not properly applied does not move the court. Knowledge that is not properly applied does not move the court. Now let me say it as very clear as I can. A lot of people are operating backwards. They start with emotion and not sequence or procedure. They start with conclusions without having any proof. They start with paperwork and not abiding by procedure. They start with strong language that does not have any structure. And then they wonder why nothing moves or the court doesn't give them any remedy. That is why people stay stuck. They collect information but do not know how to organize it or present it. They collect documents but do not know when to use them. They use strong language without having any strong structure. They talk about rights but do not understand timing, burden, support, record, or preservation of rights. So what happens? They go on a spin cycle. They repeat and they just repost the same results that we all see online. What they say? Oh, I've been railroaded, the judge this, the judge that. They didn't hear me out. No, you didn't follow procedure. They get excited, being emotional, then they hit a brick wall procedurally because strategy was missing. Let me say it in one line. A lot of people had paperwork but not process, language, and no leverage. So how many have y'all seen people with a stack of papers but no plan? I used to be one of them people. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, do that. Don't know exactly what I'm doing, no procedure. It's real. So that is more common than what people want to admit. They don't want to be accountable for not knowing. So, what's some mistakes that most people make? Or will come from that knowing procedure? The first one is people think sounding serious is the same way as being effective. It is not. Sounding serious is not being effective. Number two, people use documents out of order. The main thing I see is filing motions at the wrong time in a case. And let me tell you something simple. Right document at the wrong stage still equals the wrong result. You won't get the remedy you're looking for. I see a lot of strong documents, motions, and things is done correctly, meaning the document is done, it's very strong, but it's submitted at the wrong stage and you get no remedy. That's because procedure trumps law. Law without procedure does not get you remedy. Number three, people do not understand burden. Meaning if you bring a claim, you have the burden of proof. If someone filed a claim against you, you have to attack them and make them prove their burden of proof. Sometimes the goal is not to be louder. It's to force the other side to meet their burden and expose where they failed at providing the burden of proof with their claim. That's it. And that's very simple once you know procedure. Number 4, people fail to preserve issues or preserve their rights. And a waive issue is like money dropped on the street and it goes down the drain. You ain't getting it back. So the 5th part, people think information alone or just stating information gives them remedy, but it doesn't. It's like research without strategy. It's just loading your mind up with mental information. You can have a folder full of PDFs, but if you don't have a game plan, you just got a bunch of information in the folder. So the issue is not just knowing something. The issue is understanding how to apply it correctly, in order, with support, and with purpose. Got to have strategy and no procedure to have purpose in what you're doing. So let me say this, because I know some of y'all should be catching on to this. If you already know you want hands-on support, hands-on assistance, go ahead. You can message me or comment school. They have a school group, because that is where I'm taking the actual step-by-step execution much deeper. This is just the overlay, the overview, giving you the foundation. Okay? Make sure you message me, inbox me, or comment school group if you need further information or want it, because we all do. Because this one live, I'm just giving you the framework. And it's to give you understanding. But one live cannot train you to execute this. And that matters. You must know how to execute it. So go ahead, comment school in the comments, or inbox me a message you would like to learn more. And if you want practical training. So tonight, I gave you all the framework. Shows you how you need to think correctly. Shows you why people fail in court. And I showed you what actually matters when you're handling your affairs. And I can show you the structure. But I cannot fully train execution. How you execute procedurally in just one live. Real executions takes guided application. Structure, sequence, the documents must have purpose behind them. You must know how to build the record. You must know strategy and timing and practical follow through. That is exactly why I built my school group, so we can cover all that. And it's not just for random talking. Everything you do has a purpose and will get you remedy. Online, it's a lot of endless confusion as to what it is, what it ain't. But be truthful. How many people you see getting remedy on social media? Not very many. And then you hear information that ain't true. You go to apply it and it still don't work because you're not being taught procedure. So I'm not looking for people who just want to collect words and feel powerful just in a document or feel powerful for the day. I want people to move from information to application. Get information, apply it procedurally so you can get the remedy. So my school group is where I go deeper into the hands-on side. That means things like step-by-step training, practical execution, walk you through how to draft your documents, show you how you file them and when to file those documents. It's structured lessons that you will be receiving. Give you some templates, and there will be strategy sessions. and also support for people who want to understand how to use all the tools properly instead of just collecting information. So the way I want you to think about it is this. This live gives you understanding. The school group is what gives you hands-on application. This live gives you understanding, but the school group will give you hands-on application. Or this live, you can think of this live as where I give you the map. Then when you come to the school group, I show you the terrain, how to use the map to walk the terrain so you can reach your destination, which is Remedy. So if you want step-by-step breakdowns, templates, and walkthroughs, and not just getting random information online that doesn't produce any remedy, comment or inbox me school group and tell me you want more. And we can get started, because that is where the real growth happens, when you learn procedure and apply the law procedurally. So we're going to bring this home. Tonight was about understanding the framework on how to get remedy in court. And the framework is this. Law gives you the right, but procedure is what gives you the remedy. Evidence holds all the weight. Keeping a record is the memory for the confrontation or the dispute. And executing it the right way is how you get the results. Remember that. If you miss any of those, your claim or your defense will be weakened fast. You can have rights and still fail without procedure. You can have arguments and still fail without having evidence. You can have truth and still struggle without a record. You can have information and get nowhere because you don't know how to execute. That is why this matters so much. Knowing procedure. It's bigger than just using words. It's bigger than just documents. Because you just can't get a document and be filing at the wrong time and think you're going to get anywhere. It's bigger than just knowing or finding a statute. It's about understanding what actually gives your position force and authority, whether you bring in a claim or defending against the claim. So tonight help you to understand why procedure matters. And I wouldn't say trump law, but why procedure is needed with law. And you know the need and the practical side and learning the procedure and using the structure that's in place and doing it step by step, the school group will be perfect for you. So you can constantly get remedy. So that is where we move from hearing information and learning how to use the information. So in the group, we will go deeper into structure, sequence, like I said before, using the templates, walkthroughs, how to execute, applying all this information, and then you'll get the practical support that you need. So here's the move. If you're ready to move forward, inbox me or message school in my inbox or here on this live. Make sure you message me on this live or on my messenger school group, or just say, hey, I want to know more. Then I'll send you the link, because we're not just going to be collecting information. We're going to be learning how to execute procedurally, and that's the key. It's plenty of information online, but nobody's teaching you procedurally how to execute. Because at the end of the day, law without procedure is just theories or smoke and mirrors. Procedure plus law is the master lock and the key to get remedy. So this is the part where we have question and answer. So before we close, I want to hear any questions or any feedback in regards to this. Did this make a difference? It helping y'all understand the difference between law and procedure. Is it clearer to you all now? I hope so. Can you see why you can be right and still lose? Because just being right isn't enough. You must know procedure. Just some stuff to think about. So if you want deeper training on how to execute, how to use templates, how to draft, and just have practical application, remember, you can meet me in the school group. So anyone who wants that hands-on application, inbox me, let me know. So that's pretty much it. Nothing long and drawn out. Well, there's 2 people in here. Just one. But yeah, I'm gonna save this, put it up in a group. Hopefully more people come back and see what's going on with it. But that's it. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm glad you stayed and got what you needed. You know, executing procedurally. I ain't gonna lie. It's boring compared to how online shows. They make it seem like you can just do one thing or it's a magic trick, but it's not. It's a process you gotta go through. So, already know you stayed here throughout the whole live. I know you're gonna be getting some type of remedy. At least you adjusted your thought process so you can get remedy. But yeah, that's what this is for, just to be informative, get you on the right path, have you on the right track. Because it's boring, but it's not hard. It can be tedious and seem drawn out, but it's like once you learn how to go through procedure, you can set these people up, and it's really fun. At least for me it is. It's fun doing this. I think we all enjoy learning how to get remedy or get something that should have been done for our benefit to come about. I don't think you can ever get tired of that. But peace, love, and blessings. Peace to the gods. And have a good one. Thank you for your time.